Hi guys, so today I wanted to kind of do a discussion video. I wanted to talk about hyped books, BookTube, getting recommendations from BookTube, stuff like that. So I don't really have like a solid stance on this whole thing. I like being able to get recommendations from the other booktubers that I watch, but at the same time, I've noticed that if too many people talk about a book, my interest kind of goes down. Because something that I like about my channel is that I know that anybody who comes here, when I do my wrap-ups, you'll see books that aren't talked about that much. I mean, some books, yes, I just read City of Bones. That's like everybody's favorite book. But in a recent book haul, I also hauled a bunch of books in the Mitford series. I've never heard anybody talk about the Mitford series by Jan Karon. Maybe somebody has at some point, but it's not very popular. I've heard a couple people talk about the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, but not until after I'd read them. There are a lot of book series that I've read because of, not necessarily because of BookTube, but because of hype in general. Like, I finally read the first book in the Hunger Games this year, but that wasn't because of BookTube, but because of BookTube it made me push it back, because I didn't want to be in the middle of the hype. I wanted to wait until it died down and then read it. So with Cassandra Clare's books, I don't think there's going to be a dead hype. Like, I don't think the hype is going to go away because she's putting out new books. But I am finally reading it. A lot of times when it comes to YA, we'll notice a lot of the booktubers who read YA reading the same books. Whenever I go into the bookstore, the first thing I do is like look at books, and I'm like looking for ones that I haven't heard of, I've noticed. Like the most recent shopping trip I did, I haven't hauled those books yet, but I think only one of them I had heard about before, and that's because I'm currently in the middle of trying to plan a Beauty and the Beast retelling thing. But the other books I had never heard of before, so I kind of like buying books that nobody's talking about, because then I can form my own opinion without anybody else's opinion being there. Whereas when you read with the hype, you're going to have your own opinion, but how much of that opinion is truly yours and how much of it has to do with the excitement around the book. Sometimes it's hard to separate from the hype, I find. So I don't just want to blindly enjoy this thing because everybody else does. That's part of the main reason why I haven't read any Sarah J. Maas books. I'm also just not impressed by the way they sound. Like, they don't sound like anything that I'll enjoy. That's why it's taken me this long to read Cassandra Clare, because it just sounded okay. And I've enjoyed Cassandra Clare so far, and I'm glad that I'm starting to read the books, but I'm also glad that I waited. I do get a lot of recommendations from BookTube. I have a list in my phone of books that I want to get, and they're either from friends telling me about them or people talking about them on BookTube, or I'll find out about them somewhere and I'll be like, I need to read that. Most of the books that I get from BookTube are like books that I've heard like 2 or 3 people talk about at most. Very few of them have been like super overhyped. Like, I would love to read The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, which is a big buzzy book right now, but I don't want to read it right now because everybody is talking about it. I want to wait. I don't know if I'll read it, but if I do read it, then I don't want to read it right now because I don't want everybody else's thing influencing me, you know? I would rather wait a couple of years, maybe a year or 2 when everybody's not talking about it as much, and then read it. After, you know, everybody's had some time to settle and I don't have to hear every single person say, I just read The Hate U Give this month. I've noticed a lot of people on BookTube getting into graphic novels, and I'm not going to really. I have 4 that I can think of, because I have the Maximum Ride series has a graphic novel that goes along with it. I have the first 3 volumes. I have all of Happy Hustle High because there's only 5. Chibi Vampire, I have 4 or 5 of the volumes. Chobits, I have 4. And then I also have, like, those are real graphic novels. And then I also have, like, the trade paperback bind-ups of the comics for Wicked and the Divine, the first 2 volumes of that. The Wicked and the Divine I read because I'd heard about a couple people talking about it on BookTube, and it's okay. I have no urge to read Saga whatsoever. It's just okay. Sounds cool. I'm not super impressed by the medium, so I don't have any urge to read them. I've also noticed that the people I get most of my recommendations from are not YA readers. Because I follow so many booktubers, and I don't really take recommendations that are mystery thrillers, because I don't read mystery thrillers. Horror, suspense stuff, I'm just not into it. Sci-fi is just eh. But a lot of times some of the older booktubers that I follow who read a wider variety of books will talk about like some general fiction book, and I'm like, that sounds interesting to me. I'm gonna wait until I hear you talk about it again, maybe. Or I'll hear them talk about it and it'll just sound so perfect and I'll be like, yes. And half the time that's the only time I hear anybody talk about that book. And that I like. Because then it's like, here's this book I read. This is where I found out about it. And I loved it, instead of, here's this book that I just read because everybody else is reading it. Like, I feel like I'm coming off as like a hipster in a way. But it's not that I don't want to enjoy the mainstream BookTube books. It's just, I know that if I listen to too many people talk about that book, that I'll get certain ideas in my head, and I will enjoy that book just because everybody else is. If I don't separate myself, because it'll give me a hard time really truly forming my own opinion, because I'll have so many other people's opinions in my head. That's what it comes down to for me, why I don't read the biggest buzziest books and where I get my recommendations from. But one of my favorite things to do is go through like the YA section and just look at like every book and pull out the ones that like have an interesting title or a pretty cover and read about them, and if they really, really draw my attention, then I'll get them. That's what I did with all of the books that I have right now for my next book haul. They were books that I picked up, and I really, really, really enjoyed the description. So, and they really intrigued me and captured me and made me want to know more. And there was only one that I've ever heard anybody talk about, and the reason I got it was because it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. But the others are books that I haven't really heard anybody talk about, so that's kind of exciting. Let me know what your opinion is on bandwagoning, is what I'm going to call it, with the book hypes. What do you think about getting recommendations from BookTube versus, choosing your own books completely? Where do you get your recommendations from? Is it from bigger booktubers, smaller booktubers, different genre booktubers? Have you gotten any recommendations from me that you've really enjoyed? Please let me know. I would love to talk about this kind of a thing in the comments with you. As you can tell, I have a very fluid stance on it. I don't really have like a, no, I will never read a hyped book kind of thing. But it's not like, yes, I have to read all of the hyped books. So I'm somewhere more on the non-hyped side of the spectrum, but at the same time, yeah, it is a very fluid opinion. So please let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can check out my next video. Have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye.